improving paragraphs questions are those 6 questions at the end of a long grammar section on the old SAT, in which you have to read a passage and then answer questions based not only on grammar, but also on style and the organization and effectiveness of the author's writing. It's as if a friend gave you an essay to read and you were giving them advice on how better to communicate what it is they're trying to say. So go ahead, try this question yourself first, pause the video, and then I'll give you a little tip to help you with these questions. So number 35 reads, which sentence is best to insert before sentence 5 to begin the second paragraph? And if you look at the 5 choices, you'll see that there's no grammatical difference between the 5. None of these are going to have a grammar error that's going to help you eliminate them. So on this question, grammar doesn't help at all, even though this is the grammar section in some sense. Really, it's the writing section. So what we need to do is understand which sentence here is going to best introduce that second paragraph. There's 2 things to think about. One, when you have this opening sentence, on the one hand, you need it to, if possible, connect to the previous paragraph, because this is the idea of a transition sentence, where your sentence in the second paragraph will help smooth the flow from one paragraph to the next. That's a consideration. Really, the most important aspect of a opening sentence of a paragraph is as a topic sentence, so that it introduces and frames whatever the topic of that paragraph is going to be. So not only do you have to see this passage in the broad sense from paragraph to paragraph, but you also have to look, and here's the tip, about the words and sentences around that sentence to see what best connects the paragraph together. So let's read let's read the first 2 paragraphs. My favorite vacation started out as a pleasure trip and ended up as an educational experience I will never forget. Last March, I went with my Spanish club to Cancun, Mexico. At the club's weekly meetings, members are allowed to speak only in Spanish. All year long, we looked forward to the trip. On the 3rd day in Cancun, our advisor, Ms. Fuentes, helped us organize an excursion to Chichen Itza, a famous archaeological site on the Yucatan Peninsula, and it is one of the places where the Mayan Indians once lived. So we need a sentence that's going to be placed right at the beginning of the second paragraph. And we ask ourselves, what's going on here? Well, the first is kind of setting up the essay as a whole, that this is going to be a essay about the vacation. And then the second, we're already there. But notice in this opening sentence, we're already in Mexico and we're on the 3rd day. So we need some way to smooth this out. Let's look what we got to the choices. Finally, we were taking a trip to make use of our Spanish. Now, this kind of works with the first part I mentioned, where it connects a little bit to what was mentioned in the previous paragraph. And it's not terrible for that reason, right? It does smooth the transition from the previous paragraph to the next. The only thing is it doesn't, as a topic sentence, it doesn't quite work. And this phrasing, finally, we were taking a trip, it's a bit strange to use that form of the tense. We would probably want something like, finally, we took a trip. I don't know, even that's kind of awkward. So it's an okay choice, and maybe we'll put a squiggly next to it, but I think we'll find a better choice later. B, not long ago, Cancun was just a small fishing village. Okay, this paragraph is not about Cancun as a whole, right? They certainly mention Cancun in this sentence right here, but that's just to say that they were already in Cancun at the time. So if this paragraph were about Cancun, like the history of it, then maybe a sentence like this would work, but it's just not really relevant. It doesn't connect the paragraphs, and it doesn't act as a topic sentence. Someone told us that Cancun really means snake nest. Again, totally irrelevant. I mean, a nice little fact perhaps, but as the opening sentence of a paragraph, not really. We spent the beginning of our stay on the beach and at the market. So notice now, we're starting the original paragraph in the 3rd day, and we mentioned that it's kind of weird to suddenly be in the 3rd day. Notice here, tells us what basically they did on the first couple days. They spent the beginning of the stay on the beach and at the market. And then on the 3rd day, they did this. So this creates a nice flow or progression of ideas because we're starting at the beginning and then we're moving step by step through their trip. So D looks pretty good. Now, it doesn't connect to the previous paragraph that much, but that's okay because really it's the best sentence we've seen so far to begin the second paragraph. Many descendants of the ancient Mayans still live in Mexico and in parts of South America. So they do mention the Mayans here, but again, this paragraph is not about the Mayans. The paragraph is about the trip that they're taking and what they're doing at the time. So of all the choices, I think we can safely get rid of A, and I like Choice D. So when you're doing these questions, be aware of not just the overall flow of the passage from paragraph to paragraph, but the words around that sentence to see how that sentence is going to transition from paragraph to paragraph and from line to line. To learn more about Reason Prep's SAT, SAT subject test, and ACT video courses, go to reasonprep.com/enroll, and you can find the link in the description below the video.